The story begins when there is a lot of hasty firing going on and a guy is brutally killed by another guy with a gun. The killer guy then yells at a blonde girl that they should stop fighting now. He then rushes towards her and grabs her from the back. The girl is too quick for him, though she hits his head with the butt of the gun. But the guy is still steady and asks her whether she is the bounty hunter. The guy tells her that she doesn't look like an assassin at all. Maybe she is a newbie. He then asks the girl's name and takes a photo of her with his cell phone. We then see that blonde girl going on the street, talking to her boss. Her name is Chateau Dankworth. He summons her to his office. Chateau works for Ritzland's support company. Ritzland tells his subordinate Jim that Chateau is the daughter of that man who helped his father a lot. Jim says how she became a bounty hunter, to which Ritzland says he had no idea. Jim says still she is quite efficient, because she was able to save 2 targets single-handedly. He says maybe somebody else is helping Chateau. Then we see that the killer guy is stalking her everywhere. Then we see Chateau meeting a client with Ritzland. The client shows them the photograph of that same killer guy whose name is Ryang-ha. He worked as a translator in Asia's most powerful company, but he killed all the top officers there. He then killed 18 members of the top brass. He is a very dangerous criminal. 20 organizations have announced prizes for catching this culprit. The client ensures that if they take up this target, he will pay a price higher than those offered by others. Chateau and her boss are sitting in a cafe. After Ritzland leaves, Song enters and takes her away. He then woos her and coaxes her to have a soft corner for him. He agrees to help her with a project only if she is willing to date him on December 24. In the next scene, we see that Song is targeted for murder, but he is too quick for that. On December 24, Chateau and Song meet, and they both go to a hotel room that is romantically lit. Chateau asks him repetitively why it is always following her, and why he is so intently interested in her. Song shrugs him off. Then we see that Ritzland sees Chateau with Song. We can see that Song is very much into Chateau. Then we head 17 years back where a car has met with an accident. A little girl is sleeping peacefully in the back seat. Then after a while a police officer asks for details from the frightened child outside the car. Song, after dropping Chateau off the station, is roaming aimlessly. He suddenly realized that he was being stalked. Then the focus shifts to Ritzland, who is really worried about what Chateau and Song were doing together. Maybe he was mistaken, the girl was not Chateau. He was having wild thoughts about Chateau going solo. Then we see Song directing Chateau to the person whom he killed previously for targeting him. Chateau finds the dead body and his accomplice. Song then reaches the client who has given the job of killing Song to Ritzland Company. Song kills that person. Then we see Ritzland calling Chateau and informing her that their client is dead. Then we see the guy who was previously stalking Song. It seems that he is keeping an eye on Chateau as well. So as Chateau is driving the car on the mountain road, that guy follows her on the bike. He then shoots Chateau and also the tire of her car, thus pushing her in a ravine. But Chateau is still alive. Meanwhile, Song is continuously trying to find the whereabouts of Chateau, but no trace of her. He's really worried. The biker guy reaches Chateau and tells her he doesn't understand why a guy like Song is interested in her. He then damages her cell phone and goes away. Song reaches the spot of the mishap and picks Chateau and takes her to a hotel. Meanwhile, Ritzland and Jim are worried about Chateau's disappearance. When Chateau wakes up, Song asks her about her attacker, to which she replies that he had a tattoo on his left cheek. In the end, we see that a guy with his left cheek covered is muttering to himself that Song has to pay back now or never. Chateau leaves the hotel and calls Ritzland that she is up and is coming back. Song offers to drop, but Chateau refuses. She gives the message to Song by the biker person. It's payback time, you fraud. Then she goes away. Now we recede 5 years ago, when the biker guy, whose name is Hu, is talking to his colleague Sun Woo. He's upset because a relatively new employee, Ryang-ha Song, has been nominated for the executive position. He's really burning with jealousy and hatred. Sun Woo relates the whole situation to Song, who then takes Sun Woo into a room and then shoots him dead. At present, Ritzland is really worried about Chateau, and he asks her if she has known Song before, to which Chateau doesn't reply. She then heads home and finds Song waiting for her. He invites himself in. He sees a photo of Chateau with her parents on a mantelpiece and inquires about it, to which Chateau retorts that it's none of his business. Chateau warns him that Song shouldn't be roaming freely out there as he has so many enemies. But Song says that they both have enemies and both their lives are in danger. But he thinks that Chateau feels something for him, so she is not using her colleagues to get him caught. Then a voice message is received from Chateau's mom, and she is asking Chateau to visit her on her dad's death anniversary. Song leaves immediately, leaving Chateau to have her own private moments. Chateau is visiting her father's grave near the church. Then we see Ritzland visiting Chateau's mom, and she says to him that in his childhood he used to come here a lot with his father. Chateau and he were childhood playmates. Then the story shifts to Chateau when a nun comes and invites her inside the church. There's Song waiting for Chateau. Then some goons attack them, but Song wipes them all. Chateau rushes to the grave and there she sees Hu pointing a gun at the nun. Then Chateau attacks him with a stun gun, but it has little effect on him. He says that his brain is so exhausted from taking drugs that a mere stun gun cannot do much to him. Ritzland asks Chateau's mother why she is working as a bounty hunter, to which she replies that maybe she is looking for something. Then we see Song reaching the graveyard, but we can see that Hu has taken Chateau away. Song calls Chateau, but her phone is picked up by Ho, who challenges Song to find them. Then Chateau's mother tells Ritzland about Chateau's past. We moved back 17 years ago, when a suspected car was being inspected by the authorities. The dead body was found of a young man along with a little girl, who was sleeping peacefully in the back seat. The guy was shot down. When Agent Dankworth questions Chateau, her stomach starts growling. The kind man takes her home and feeds her. He then asks her about the dead man, to which she replies that she doesn't know him. Then records are checked and there is no record named. Chateau Noble, this means she was given a fake name. It seemed that Chateau was kidnapped. Then she is sent to an orphanage, and after some time adopted by Agent Dankworth, and becomes Chateau Dankworth. Then it is shown that even Ryang-ha Song's record is fake, and his real identity is unknown. Song then reaches Hu and shoots him. He inquires about Chateau, and we see Chateau tied up in a car and a nearby bomb is about to blast. Suddenly, there is a blast and Hu points a dagger at Song. Luckily, Chateau escapes the explosion. Hu remembers how a kind colleague, Sun Woo, took care of him when he was a drug addict and became his mentor, and then Song assassinated him brutally. Hu manages to stab Song, but is shot and killed. Song frees Chateau and escapes but faints due to immense pain from his wound. And then we see that someone unknown reports Hu's failure to kill Song to his boss and asks what to do next. With help from Jim, Chateau gets Song to a back alley doctor, but Jim also reports everything to Ritzland, so Chateau suggests Song leave before the arrival of Ritzland. Song offers her to accompany him to Independence, but she refuses, so he leaves after teasing her first. After her suspension ends, Song contacts Chateau to inform her he is leaving on a trip. Chateau begins to shape painful memories of the dead man while he was still alive. Chateau, Ritzland, and Jim have a mission. They'd all go undercover on the cruise ship to guard one of Ritzland's relatives who is a VIP. Song also boards the ship, but he doesn't know that he is being followed by a stranger. We head toward the past in which a man saves an unnamed child and names him Ryang-ha Song. Chateau and Jim learn the VIP is Ritzland's wife named Hawk, who owns a multi-billion-dollar corporation, and she is also politically connected. Song comes before Chateau, who thinks that he is here to kill Hawk. Song doesn't reply, but instead challenges Chateau. As long as Chateau can see him, he won't do anything. With Ritzland's consent, Chateau agrees to share a room with Song for the whole cruise, with Ritzland's and Jim keeping a close eye on them. Song notices Chateau is having an insomnia attack, and after some teasing carries her to bed where she quickly falls asleep. Song is taken aback by her deep trust and innocence. Song takes Chateau for some clothes shopping despite her reluctance, because he thinks she needs a makeover. Jim arranges extra arrangements for Hawk's security. Ritzland, in a private meeting with Song, reveals that he knows Chateau doesn't remember much of her past, except that her original surname might be Noble. Despite the strict security arrangements, Joes and Cedrin arrive. Ritzland is stabbed in the throat by an unknown attacker. Song rushes Chateau to find Ritzland and chases the assassin, who escapes after warning Song that he and Chateau must remain on the ship. Ritzland manages to tell Chateau it was not Song who stabbed him before he is flown to the hospital with Hawk and Jim. Chateau is attacked by the assassin Jinan 1. Chateau finds Song and points her gun at him. Jinan has blackmailed her that he will keep her mother unhurt and also pay a lump sum amount in return for murdering Song. Surprisingly, Song agrees to be handed to Jinan. Feeling guilty at Song's agreement, Chateau tries to shoot herself, so Jinan no longer has a reason to kill her mother, but Song hurriedly stops her and begins choking her, while insisting she is more honest with herself and others. Joes and Cedrin are skeptical that the cruise hasn't been cancelled following Ritzland's departure. Jinan's boss is shown manipulating events. Song chokes Chateau to the point she faints. We head towards the past, where Ryang is shown as a teenager dedicatedly studying so he can one day repay Donnie, the man who rescued and named him. However, Donnie had other plans. Instead, he gave Song an important secret mission. Chateau has flashbacks of being in the car with the dead man who told her he is Song, a friend, and she told him she is Chateau Noble. Jinan murders Joes and Cedrin. Ritzland finally revives, and so Jim decides to catch up with the ship at the next port. Alas, he is shot. At the port, Song comes out of the ship and meets Jinan, clearing the air that Chateau should be left alone, and her further involvement is not required. Jinan and another assassin, Nakib, begin driving Song to meet their employer, who they claim is Donald Bachman, also known as Donnie, whom Song refrained to identify and shuns Nika's attempt to question him further. Chateau is taken aboard the ship by Jim, who survived with minor injuries thanks to the bulletproof windows on his car. They attempt to leave the ship but are stopped by Jim. Working together, the assassin is shot and knocked out. Donnie calls the assassin's phone, but Chateau does not answer it. Song is taken handcuffed and blindfolded to meet Donnie. Donnie reveals that he adopts unknown orphans and raises them as his accomplices. He also reveals Ryang-ha Song was the name he gave to one of his orphans, who died another twister. Song is not actually Song but an imposter. Chateau and Jim sneak themselves off the ship with the injured killer, who explains Donnie is known as the Trigger and is paid by clients to use his accomplices to start wars all over the world. Chateau asks Jim to protect her mother and then resigns from her job so her actions will no longer stain Ritzland's reputation. Nika allows Song to free himself so they can fight. Several guards are killed and Song's freshly sewn wound is reopened. Chateau breaks down the gate to Donnie's mansion with a truck. Song weakens from blood loss, and through flashbacks, it is shown that when he was a child he was also in the car with young Chateau and the real Song. Song collapses and gives away to death. Nika casually reveals Chateau is outside before walking away. Jinan confronts Nika over freeing Song, who is quickly recovering. Song rescues Chateau from the guards and happily calls her an idiot for almost dying trying to rescue him. Chateau and Sun reach a camp to treat Song's wounds. To make up for the blunder he did, Nika vows to find Song and kill him. Chateau and Song awkwardly show gratitude to each other for saving each other. Donnie decides not to send Nika after Song, but still demands they find Chateau, whom he has been searching for since she was a child. Song is forced to pick pockets by Donnie. He was forced to learn criminal skills before learning to read or write. Chateau's heart fills with remorse. Chateau wonders about Donnie's organization and why they are interested in her, but Song refuses to answer. Angry Chateau attempts to leave to find out for herself. Song loses his temper and dares to hurt her to be obedient, but then softens and explains he isn't willing to lose her after he spent so many years trying to find her after losing her the first time. Chateau suddenly remembers that when she was a child, she shot someone. Through a flashback, it is shown that Donnie had asked the original Song to look after a man named List Noble, and on his way to meet List he encountered and then saved a young Song from kidnappers. Ryang-ha, a university student, looked after little Song for a week while waiting for List. As Song was about to leave, Ryang-ha got a call from List, begging him to find something List hid. List was then shot while still on the phone by Sun-woo, who was furious that the girl he was looking for was not there. Song helped Ryang-ha, and they found a young girl asleep hidden in a suitcase. Stealing a car, they drove away. She woke up crying but managed to say she was Chateau Noble. Realizing she was List's daughter, Ryang-ha decided to take responsibility for her. Finding a cabin for the night, Sun decides to leave. For a moment, Ryang-ha was uncertain if he should kill Song to keep his whereabouts secret, but then he let him leave. On his way, Song encountered the remaining child traffickers, who traced Song into the woods. Ryang had guiltily decided to bring Song back, leaving Chateau sleeping and also leaving his gun. Unable to find Song, Ryang-ha returned to the cabin where Chateau, having woken up scared and alone hiding in the closet with Ryang-ha's gun, and when he tried to open the door she accidentally shot him. Having this painful memory, adult Chateau passes out with remorse. Song manages to overpower the traffickers. Ryang-ha was shot in the neck, but initially survived and escaped in the car with Chateau. Song passed out, waking up in a hospital a week later, where a police detective, presumably Officer Dankworth, Chateau's future adoptive father, informed Song that Ryang had died after bringing Chateau safely. Bereaved, Song took over the name Ryang-ha Song as his own. In the present, Song brings Chateau to one of his safe houses where she is so exhausted after regaining memory that she sleeps for 2 days. After waking up, she is furious that Song was aware of everything the whole time without telling her, and yet finally understands why she never had the heart to ignore Song, because subconsciously she had recognized Ryang-ha's name and couldn't bring herself to reject the man she accidentally killed. Donnie meets with the head of the Noble family and Nika takes Jim hostage, while Ritzland manages to keep Chateau's mother safe. Chateau wants to hire Song to kill Donnie, but he tells her she must become her partner in crime, which she readily accepts, but is confused when he refuses money and tells her to work out what he wants as payment.